Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Sane Hammers from Atelier Preserve.
That's right. Yeah, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We're very excited to learn a little bit more about you, but also learn about Atelier Preserve. So you do something very unique for the community, and it's beautiful. I've seen your pieces, and it's so unique, and we would love to share that with our viewers.
Yeah, it's very cool. I started a sculpture and jewelry studio. I'm the only one in the U.S. that does this, where I'm able to scan someone, mostly a pregnant woman or any kind of woman, and turn that into a piece of physical art or jewelry. So, like, I turned my pregnancy into a gold pendant.
That is so cool, and it's such a memorable piece that someone can have throughout their lifetime. And can create an art piece as well.
And that it's tangible, because the photography is really cool, but it's, sometimes like when you see your pregnancy photography for 20 years on the same wall, you maybe want to switch it out, but this is a little bit more anonymous because I actually take the head off, so it becomes more of a fine art piece. So it's not most people don't even know it's you. It's just like a fine art, but it's actually you, so it has emotional value.
And what's your backstory on why you got into this and how you created it?
Well, so I was pregnant and wasn't the person to do a photo shoot. It wasn't really my feeling. I didn't feel like I don't know. I didn't want to show off my pregnancy that like that, but I did want to find something that had a little bit more art to it, and was able to find this idea in Europe, where I'm from originally. And but it was during COVID and I couldn't do it, so I had to figure out on my own how to do it, and it took a while. And now I'm finally here.
And you have a lot of clients, not only that are local to La Jolla, but they fly in from all over the country.
I have people flown in from all kinds of places here, because I capture them usually between week 25 to like 34. And when you're just jumped into your third trimester, you can still fly. So and they just literally a person that flew in and out that same day just to do the scan, because I just need them for 3 minutes, and then I have them in my computer, and with that I can capture anything and scale it to anything. So that way it was very important to see her in person, and then she has that for the rest of her life.
And how long does it take once you get the scan to creating the actual art piece?
That first I 3D print it, and that could take about each piece around 20 hours to like 50 hours to print. And then I hand finish them all. I do all kinds of different colors, or I can do them in bronze, or I can actually make them into jewelry, which is gold casted, 14 karat solid gold. So it's a long process, but it's very fun to do.
And being in La Jolla and the La Jolla community, what's your favorite part about serving the women of La Jolla?
I love the women in La Jolla, and I love, especially, I live in Bird Rock, and just amazing crowd, a lot of young businesses, and everyone supports each other very much, and everyone is doing that for you, and that makes it feel like a very nice and warm welcome, and very supportive.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about you and your business. And if someone's watching this, how can they get in touch, and how can they book an appointment for one of your services?
So they can go to my website, atelierpreserve.com, and then you click on book an appointment, and then you see the time slots, and the appointment takes about an hour, because it's just really fun to like talk. But we do the scan, and it's about 3 minutes, and then I have it from there, and you can see all the finishes and options in the process. So it's very fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the Discover La Jolla podcast.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Megan Hine from Brockton Villa Restaurant.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We're excited to learn a little bit more about you and about your restaurant, which is family owned and operated. And I know you've been in the Cove for quite some time.
Yeah.
So tell us about the history of the restaurant and kind of how you had your beginning.
Well, in around 1989, we took the lease on the building as part of my family's business, the Panikin Coffee and Tea. And my stepfather and I started the renovation. The beach cottage was built over 100 years ago. So we did the renovation to bring it up to a commercial code and basically opened the restaurant in 1991. So we've been operating as a restaurant since then. And in 1994, I actually bought the restaurant away from my family's business and have been operating it on my own and now with my husband since then as an independent restaurant, Brockton Villa. And it's been owned and operated by my family since then. And we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, seasonally dinner, and have a lot of experience in La Jolla. I've grown up in La Jolla, and it was quite an endeavor to bring the restaurant up into a commercial, from a residential into a commercial status.
I bet. Yeah. And there's not a lot of restaurants kind of down where your restaurant is located.
Right. Our location is very unique and pretty spectacular. We're located directly across from the La Jolla Cove, and we're set up from the street, so we have a really magnificent view not only of the Cove but of the whole coastline going north and south a little bit too, and it's really a spectacular setting.
And I'm sure it's a destination for people who are not only visiting the area but are also local to La Jolla.
Yes, yeah, has been. And what's something that's really neat is that periodically we get people coming into the restaurant that say, oh, I used to know someone who lived here, or I was the gardener here, or the caretaker of someone who lived here, because up until the late 80s, there were people living in the house. And so that's part of the history that we continue to build in our displays, and as part of the history of the restaurant are people that have lived there or have spent time there other than being guests.
I love that. I love that it ties together like the old history of La Jolla and then kind of creating those memories for the future.
Right, yeah.
And you have a lot of events coming up too for the restaurant, like different dinner series, kind of promotions. So let's talk about that.
Right. We have one going on right now that's called Couples at the Cove. It's a prefix dinner that's $85 for a couple. It's a 3-course meal and includes a bottle of wine, and that's always a favorite. We do that every year. We also have a really great happy hour going right now that's been really popular through the summer. And by popular demand, we have our lobster rolls going. For a while, we were offering them only at lunch, and then we were only offering them, for the later part of the day, and now we're offering them all day long and into the evening. And I have to say our lobster rolls are probably the best in town.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And before we go on the podcast, I wanted to ask you, since you are local to La Jolla, you have business in La Jolla, what is your favorite part about serving the community?
Well, having grown up in La Jolla, there's been a lot of changes throughout the village itself, and one thing that's nice about having Brockton Villa for the last 34 years as a business is the Cove has only changed a little bit. Obviously, with the wildlife being so close and the beach being so close, we remain part of La Jolla's history, and people appreciate that. They appreciate the fact that we preserved an old building, that we have run our business as a local family, and we have, had some nice recognition over the years to that effect. People we recognize our guests. We know that they come back year after year with visitors that come and say, oh, let's go back to Brockton Villa because we're here again visiting. And it's important to us to be a part of the community. There's a lot that goes on in La Jolla and a lot of turnover in businesses, and we feel really proud that we're a business that has been steady and has remained, in the same family, in the same location, and we're planning to be there for probably another generation.
Yeah, it's such an accomplishment too.
Thank you.
And especially like you said, there's a lot of turnover in the restaurant industry specifically. So having the restaurant be there and be a mainstay for La Jolla, for people to come back to, whether they're visitors or whether they're local and it's one of their favorite restaurants, it's probably a really nice feeling to know that you're a part of that community.
Yeah. Just last night I was at our other restaurant and someone was telling me that Brockton Villa is one of their favorite places. They had their first date there. She and her husband now had their first date there, and they go back every year on their anniversary. We have people that have gotten engaged there and now bring their children, and so it's also nice that we have that generational view of a lot of our guests as well. So
yeah, it really
nice
keeps it in the family.
Yeah.
Well, if someone's watching this and they want to learn more about the restaurant, make a reservation, check you guys out, what's the best way for them to get in contact?
We use Open Table for reservations. You can always call the restaurant or go through our website, brocktonvilla.com. We're open 7 days a week. We only close 1 day a year. And we serve breakfast, lunch all year long, and dinner, like I said, seasonally through the summer, and then limited hours during the winter months.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Discover La Jolla podcast. We really appreciate it. Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Stuart Schiffman from Compound Wealth Advisors.
How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We're excited to learn a little bit more about you and your business. So I know you're new to La Jolla, so tell us about kind of your move out here and why you started Compound Wealth Advisors.
Well, I'm a bit of a helicopter parent, and my daughter got into UCSD, so we moved out. But San Diego had always been in my wife and I a mind for years, so this was a great opportunity, and we've been here over a year now and just loving it.
Not a bad place to be.
No.
So tell us about your business and kind of what you do specifically.
I like to say that basically I help people marshal their resources to reach their aspirations. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Essentially, I'm a wealth advisor, financial planner, but it goes beyond the money. It goes into the visions and values of the people that I work with, and we help them reach their aspirations.
And you work with people from not only like local, but all over the country, correct?
Yes. There's a de minimis rule, which means that you can have clients, up to 5 clients in every state without registering, but I'm registered right now in 3 states, but I have clients all over the United States, yes.
And what do you think differentiates yourself from other wealth advisors in the area?
I've thought about that a lot. What's truly different is that, there's 100,000 certified financial planners across the United States, and we're all different because we bring our own education, skills, experience to the job. And I have a rather unique background. Just to give you an example of what's unique. So I spent a decade in New York working on the buy side, which is the money management side, in the high net worth money management. I also worked on the sell side, which is the institutional sales and trading of both stocks and bonds. So I have this depth of investment experience. And because of that experience, family and friends kept wanting me to manage their money. And eventually I had to get registered because it was just getting to be too much, and that would have been unlawful for me not to.
Right.
And that's really how my business started. So to go even further about differences between advisors, when I left New York, I wound up going to San Francisco and getting involved in the technology industry. But as a hobby, sort of not a hobby, but more of an interest, I was really interested in the personal growth movement in San Francisco. And I learned so much from joining some of those groups. And I think that my ability to have empathy and be a better listener is attributed to a lot of that work. So those are some of the attributes of how financial advisors might differ. Could be just the academic experience or practical experience, but it's also some of the, should we say, less tangible attributes as well.
Right. Like more diving into your personality and kind of how you conduct your business, mannerisms. And I'm sure everyone, they're looking for different things when they're finding a wealth advisor.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about you and your business. If someone wants to get in touch and kind of learn more about you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Actually, there's a website that I have called C Wealth Advisor. It's a letter C, not S-E-E, but cwealthadvisor.com. And that's the best place to learn about the people that I work with and the services that I offer.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Stuart. And thank you for watching Discover La Jolla. Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Noah Martin from Gottsik Construction.
Hi, how's it going? Thank you for bringing me out here. Pleasure to be on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're excited to learn a little bit more about Gottsik Construction and kind of your tie-in with La Jolla. So tell me about the company and how you started.
Yeah, so Gottsik Construction, we're general contractors in San Diego. We focus on building custom ADU projects for coastal markets, so La Jolla, PB, Ocean Beach. Really got in the business from our background of being a real estate investor and developer. And through that experience, I've hired contractors. And so I really identified what the gaps were when I was setting my expectations of what service I wanted and what product I wanted as a contractor. And it was a missing gap. So I built the construction company with my partner around those fundamentals to make sure that we're providing a quality experience, highly communicative, highly professional, and ultimately all the necessities needed to provide a service and a quality project that is reflected to be what I wanted, my standards, what so happens to also meet the standards of La Jolla. And most of my projects are in La Jolla right now. I'm building several. I just finished one in La Jolla on a second garage story addition that's an ADU, and it worked out great. And it's been a wonderful time the last 4 years being involved with La Jolla.
And you primarily focus on ADUs. So what is the process like with that in the La Jolla community?
Yeah, so process of it in the La Jolla community, it's a standard process. It's just you need to get permits to be able to add the ADU on your property. And you have to work with the city and also the coastal commissions. So it's very complicated, but once you get those permits submitted to the city, you can build your project. And why I'm starting to notice a lot of La Jollans starting to add these is because their existing lots that they have, they can't add anymore. So this allows them to add an extra 1,200 square feet to their property. And it can be used for offices, it can be used for in-laws suite, it can be used for rental purposes. So it could be multi-generational, it could be rental purpose, it can be just for dedicated use. And that's why they're starting to favor this type of product. And I see a lot of people reaching out to me for that.
And how long does it take to get a permit for that?
Yes, the permit process can be 12 months to 18 months. And it really depends on the team you hire, which is your architects, your engineers, and then also involvement of a contractor early on to ensure that the plans are envisioning what you want to build. Because if you don't hire a contractor early or don't have them look at it, you can run into a lot of issues.
So, excuse me. So if you step in and you take on a project like that, are you working with the architects and the designers hand in hand?
Yes, I'm working with them hand in hand. So it could be either my architects and my engineers that I hire to fully master contract to handle the entire process from start of just the client thinking about something all the way to permit issuance and then all the way to actually the project being built. So I can do that full A to Z service all in package with our company.
That's so awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. I know you have a lot of clients that you service in the La Jolla community. So what are your plans as a company in La Jolla for the next 5 years?
Yeah, our plans as a company in La Jolla is to just dial in the custom service that we provide. We want to ensure that our product is reflecting the expectations of what a La Jollan would want and what the community wants. I think building proper is a must in a community that's so integrated and tied together. So we want to ensure that our company and our product is reflecting that. I don't want to build something that stands out, that hinders the area. I want to build something that's really incorporated. And a lot of my projects, I get a lot of feedback. The community loves seeing them. They'll come walk the sites. They have questions. They have concerns. And we're able to answer those because we want to be well connected with the community. And so for the next 5 years, I would say I want to continue building these custom ADU projects because they're going to start popping up here and there in La Jolla. And ultimately just kind of bleed into the custom homes and then the multifamily section in La Jolla. And be established presence. I want to be an access. I want to be a resource to be able to show people what it takes and what the expectations and the reality are of being able to build a project. And it can be complicated. So we want to make sure that we're the right fit for everyone in La Jolla.
And if someone's watching this and they're interested, they want to learn more, they want to work with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you or learn a little bit more about the company?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch is to look at our company at gottsik.com, Gottsik construction.com. You can also reach out to our email at info@gottsik.com. Or if you want to reach out to me directly, my number is on the website. That's 619-786-0946. Feel free to ask any questions that you have about construction. I'd be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And if you are looking for a construction company in La Jolla area, be sure to check them out. Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Renata Lutz from The Portrait Mama.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the Discover La Jolla podcast. We're excited to learn more about you and learn about your business. So what was the inspiration behind The Portrait Mama and how you got started?
So my desire for photography was actually born when I was graduating pharmacy school. And they asked if we have pictures of us as toddlers to put on the invitation. And I went through my parents' boxes, and I was shocked that I could find only maybe a dozen from my entire first 5 years of life. And that moment, I was like, oh no, this cannot happen to my kids. Like, I want those memories. Those are years that you don't really remember. And then I started getting interest in photography, and I was like, this is a promise for my future self and my future family. And years went by, and then it became a hobby, and that hobby became a huge passion of mine, and then it became a business.
I love that. And you have a studio location as well. So let's talk about that and kind of the clients that you serve specifically.
Yeah, so I have a studio in Bird Rock, La Jolla, is right on the village, and I serve moms. That's my audience. I serve mom on their maternity, newborn, and family photography, but I also work with mompreneurs. So I have a really big passion in fueling those mom-owned businesses, and that came from my own experience of being a mom and trying to juggling the business and the kids.
And you have a unique business model in that you serve moms, but it's through their pregnancy and then after as well.
Yes, I love motherhood portraits. For me, have a special place in my heart. I feel that most moms are hidden behind the camera, just taking the snapshots of their kids the entire time. Sometimes they have like the camera roll full of images of their kids with their partners, and they're not in that picture. And I feel that those are the images that one day your kids and your grandkids will look back and really like cherish.
Yeah, and it's so important to have those memories and to be able to capture the whole family all together.
Yes.
And being in La Jolla, how do you support the La Jolla community, specifically the La Jolla women's community?
So, community is one of the missions and the visions of my business. I do launch it this year. It's a passion project that has been in my heart for a long time, and it's called the Mama Series. And I open my studio once a month on a weekend for free workshops with other experts in motherhood. So, we talk about anything from breastfeeding to Montessori education to labor and delivery. And that's how I want to create that community of moms and that support that is so necessary in motherhood.
I love that. I love that you're offering those free classes and you're able to kind of help moms in the community in that way, but then also creating community within itself.
Yeah, community is very important. I also support the local elementary school in Bird Rock, and it's just part of the mission and the vision of my business.
Now, if someone's watching this and they want to get in touch with you, they want to learn more about your service, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
So I'm on Instagram as The Portrait Mama. My website is www.theportraitmama.com. And I'm right in Bird Rock Village, right above the UPS.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Renata. Such a pleasure having you on the podcast. And be sure to check out The Portrait Mama. Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we shine a light on the jewel of San Diego, La Jolla, California. I'm here with Jeff Jackson from Your Family Vine.
Hey, how are you this morning?
Good. Thank you so much for coming in. Always a pleasure having you. And we're excited to kind of dive deep into some specifics about Your Family Vine.
Thank you.
And I know we were chatting a little bit before this, but you said that sometimes it's a little too late where people, they want to share their story. They want to share their loved ones' stories, but they kind of put it off because they think they have a lot of time or, life goes by. They kind of put it on the back burner. So for you, from your experience, what are the top 3 reasons why someone should share their story now versus then waiting until later in life?
Well, the primary reason is because, again, you have knowledge about your life and about your parents and grandparents that nobody else in your family has. And, as you get older, things happen. You can have a medical incident happen or some health issue that comes up quickly. And at that time, it's when your mind's thinking about all those other things, you're not thinking about sharing your story. So I think that one of the key things is to think about it now, that you've got this gift of your life story and you want to pass it on before you cross some line that it may be too late. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard from people like, oh man, I wish I would have had you come and do this with my parents before they passed. So that's probably the main obstacle.
And then what's another reason you think someone should share their story now versus waiting?
Yeah, I think they should share it now because, again, the older you get, also the less technological prowess you have.
And you're probably not as likely to remember.
Well, you're not as likely to remember, and then also technology changes and it becomes more difficult. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we do is we make it as simple as possible for the person who's going to tell their life story to do it. They don't have to push any buttons. They don't have to do anything. We come to them at their house, at the place that's convenient for them, and then we just sit across the room from them and talk with them about their life story. And so I think waiting too long can actually create, at least in your mind, these challenges of this technology.
Right.
is difficult for me to,
And you don't want to let that stop you from kind
No.
of sharing your story and kind of keeping that as a memory for your family for the years to come. Are there any other obstacles you can think of?
Well, believe it or not, I was just back east doing some interviews for some friends back there. And the other obstacle is a lot of people don't think their kids and their grandkids are really that interested in their story, which I've never heard a kid or a grandkid say that, but the person looks at their own life and they say, my life hasn't been that interesting. Why would my kids and my grandkids want to know it? And that's always, something that their thinking on that is not accurate.
Right.
There's nobody that I know, including you, I'm sure, and other people, that when you have a loved one pass away, you you want to know, hey,
You do,
what did
yeah.
that person know about my family, which helps me to understand who I am.
Yeah, and then when that person passes, they take all that knowledge and all those memories, and there's no way for you to get that back unless you record it or write it down or have that.
Exactly. Yeah. And in these face-to-face interviews that we do with people, they're telling their life story, and we're kind of helping them not just give us facts and data about their life, but also those really cool stories that their kids and grandkids and great-grandkids are going to want to know. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of times we're able to bring out like personality types. What kind of personality was your grandpa or your grandma? Mm-hmm. And how did they interact with one another in their marriage? What are those memories that you have of them when you were growing up, some event that you went to with them, or those family traditions?
Yeah, so that makes it really special too, because it's not only just kind of hearing like their life story, but also like the memories and the events, like you said, that make it truly special.
Right, and all those things, when you hear that kind of information, that personality types, careers that they may have had, the reasons why they may have come to this country from another country, or the reasons why they relocated to the place where you knew them mm-hmm. as you were growing up. When you hear all those things, that kind of helps you to know who you are.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
And again, as part of the family vine, so your identity, you're not this standalone individual. And when you hear your family's story, when you hear the story of the resilience mm-hmm. that your grandparents or your great-grandparents showed and demonstrated in their lives during the difficult times in their family history, or even within our country, like the ones that I've done with where people have lived through World War II, or even some people that lived through the Great Depression. And when you hear about your grandparents having to live with the austerity measures that every American had to live with during World War II, it lets you know that, hey, in the fiber of my being and my DNA, I have the capability of being resilient regardless of the obstacles that I'm facing.
Right. And it makes you feel more empowered too, because it's like, that this, like you said, it's in your DNA, it's in your history.
Right.
And then knowing kind of like the struggles or the hardships that your family went through, it kind of makes the life that you're currently living now, you can move through it with a little bit more like comfort, knowing like, hey, like my family went through all this, I can make it through
exactly
whatever's going on in your life, whether it's hard or whether it's like this temporary struggle.
Yes.
It gives you a little bit more satisfaction and comfort knowing that.
Yeah, and the idea that, hey, it helps you to frame your specific moment in time, because you're framing it through the DNA that you have in you through your family members, and you'll know that, hey, I can deal with this, I can overcome this, and there'll be a season where I'll be looking back on whatever I'm going through right now because my grandparents or my great-grandparents encountered obstacles that were much greater than whatever I'm facing right now.
Exactly. Well, that's such a great way to put it, and such really great reasons why you should share your story with your family. Now, if someone's watching this and they want to share their story, they want to refer a loved one, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
The simplest way to get in touch is to go to our website, yourfamilyvine.com, and that'll give you all the details and information And then if they want to contact us through the website, I would be the one to talk with them, and then can give them the details, the information, maybe specifics that they would like to know about, and then I go and meet them at a place and a time that's convenient for them.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you
Always
so much.
A pleasure.
Okay, thank you.